Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Good morning, everybody. Cowboy here, and it is August the 5th, 8:30 a.m. EST, and exciting last 5 or 6 days with the NASDAQ, with a lot of things. Bitcoin, USD, JPY, we're going to look at all of it, or at least we're going to look at whatever time allows us to do here on the live deal, right? So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comment section. I'll be happy to address those for you. And let's go ahead and fix something here. I got a little issue. Fix this here. Got a weird. There we go. No, not that. I want no background. I want no. Okay, sorry about that little technical glitch there. The chart was looking a little bit funky. Look, we had some data come out last week. The news really knocked down the NASDAQ, and it also knocked down Bitcoin. Flash over there. You notice it was right about the same time that Bitcoin got knocked down, and this was due to a what was this employment report, right? So they had some pretty bad employment numbers, and then or I should say good. We'll take a look at that in a second. The actual data, we'll take a look at it, and then they revised a bunch of the employment data as well. They went back in time and said, no, actually, it didn't look like this. It looked like that. And of course, that caused the NASDAQ to fall very, very hard. In fact, it was 4.5% that the NASDAQ fell. And that's remarkable. That's a big, big deal in the stock market. Billions and billions and billions wiped right out of the market in just a day or two. And it's already halfway back up. It's already made 50% or better from the move down, right? So there is the move down. It hasn't quite, it skimmed 60% of on the way back up. So if I were to actually do some percentage looks here, just to really get some quick math on this, and we'll delete this line here, and we'll go from here down. Okay, so it lost 4.5%, and now it's only at 1.85% down. So it's already more than halfway back to where it was. Now, Bitcoin did a similar thing. It hasn't quite recovered the same, but Bitcoin has been doing so well that it might not have the same spring back up. It might still be selling off from its major move up. So that's the one thing we have to kind of watch out for here. So with that said, Bitcoin had fallen, let's see, about 6%, 5.8, and it's already back at 2.6. So yeah, it's gone more than halfway back as well. So it's actually pacing pretty well with the NASDAQ. Now, the question is will these hold, right? Now, Bitcoin itself, we'll get back to the NASDAQ in a minute. Bitcoin does have some liquidity up at about 116.5. So right about here, let's put a line there, roughly there. And we'll make that more visible for you all to see. And then there is some more up at about 117.5, roughly right in there. So price is going to want to go up and grab that at some point. Is it ready to do it now? Let's take a look at the algos. Let's see here. Look, the high time frame is bullish, and excuse me. The daily itself is in a point where it is going to want to pop up just at least a little bit, but that weekly really needs some time to reset. So this is the weekly chart. We're going all the way back to the beginning of the year, big, huge move up. And if we're looking at this just organically, it's already touched this 112,000 that I called out not that long ago. So what is it going to do next? Really, what I think it's going to do, at least over the next month or so, is there are a couple of different options. Price could head down to grab some liquidity below 112. That can happen. I think that liquidity above 116, 117 probably would get touched before that. So, I mean, I know this is going to sound so obvious. There really are only 3 separate main ideas here. Price could dip below 112. Price could kind of skirt 112 and head back up. Price could go up and do any of the above, right? Those are the obvious choices. I mean, there's really not much else I could do besides that. Now, what I do lean towards right now is a lack of volatility, and that might create a range, right? I think we might see price go up and eventually grab this liquidity that we talked about. But after that, it's going to do one of a few things. It's going to, if it does that, first of all, it would maybe hang out back up in this range and make its way up. That would be the bullish scenario. It could grab that liquidity and it could actually head down, create some type of a range, and then who knows what happens after that. And then, of course, there might be a further retracement down this far. I don't think that's going to happen, but that would be likely if we saw the NASDAQ start to fall again. And right now, the NASDAQ does look like it's more or less stable. We're going to jump over there right now. And then once we're done with the NASDAQ, I'll probably go ahead and go over to the private live lab. And that's where we talk about the deeper things. And V the Gorilla comes on and gives us some more data, based on the deeper geopolitical and also market stuff. So we'll worry about that in a minute. Like, the NASDAQ is ultimately still pretty bullish, right? It is pretty bullish. I mean, I don't think it's going to go below that low that we saw, that panic low. We had this employment data come out last week, heads rolled. Trump fired, for better or for worse. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but Trump fired the person who put that data out. It's really hard to know a lot of times what's real, what's not real, as far as, did this person do something untoward and put out bad data to hurt Trump? And did Trump fire them because they needed to be fired? There's a lot of questions there. And I'm sure there's a lot of spin, and people who hate Trump are going to think this, and people who love Trump are going to think that. I'm in neither camp. And all I can do is point towards the data and how the chart treats it. That really cleans up a lot of BS when you don't have to think about the political spin on the matter, but understand that the markets react to the data itself. And the non-farm employment change on Friday was about 30% below, if not a bit more, maybe 3% below the expected, right? So basically, the forecasted job add will be 106,000, and it was only 73,000 added. And we also had, do we have some data on Thursday that messed with everything? The employment cost index went up, which is a dollar strong thing. So I don't think that really did much. I think it was just that data on Friday, the employment data, that really threw the wrench in the works. So we'll see about that. We'll see how this all comes out. Right now, if I were to only look at the algorithm, right? Only look at the algos, only pay attention to what that's saying, I would go ahead, let's go back to the chart here, and say that this is going to hold. Right now, you, of course, have this new high and new low to look at locally. The low on the bottom actually extends back. It extends back to, really to July, early July. So price bounced off it a few times, and that gave us a little support. Now, what happens next, right? And I drew this in the weekly update, right? So if you go over to the weekly update, I drew that perhaps the NASDAQ would just kind of arc up and then curl down. That's what I thought. So far, it's actually underperforming that, but that's so far. This could pop up. And now that we're looking at more recent or more current data, then I can actually have a kind of a guess at what might happen. And I do think that we're going to see price it might have to pull back a little bit, but I do think it's going to grind up a little bit for now. Now, it could pull down a little bit, but I think ultimately it's going to be kind of a grind upwards until it's not. So something like that maybe over the next few days. We're just going to have to see. This is a very quiet time. Markets are quiet. There's not a lot of volatility. It is summertime. People are on vacation. This is actually a time to not trade for most people. If you're swing trading, okay, yeah, you can find some opportunities if they show up. If you're day trading, though, you got to really pick your opportunities, because price is not going to be very predictable. It's a lot of chop. I mean, look at the last few days. I should say the last day or so, right? Not a lot of price action. And it's not really easy to trade that unless you're just range trading. And this is the time for range traders to come out and play. So that range that I just drew, now you can see as I zoom in on that, logging the bottom, although you didn't know there was a bottom until about here. Now you know the range is in, right? For now. So shorting that top, longing that bottom, that's how the range traders would do. I'm not saying that's what I would do. However, that's a completely valid way to do things. I've seen guys make a lot of money with that. So just kind of bear that in mind. Thank you all for watching. We're going to head over to the private live lab. Link is in the description, everybody. So if you go ahead and go to the description, click the link, we'll give you a free algo. We'll put you on the list for a free workshop, we'll call it. I always want to say webinar. We'll do a free workshop. I'll let you know when that's going to be. The first workshop will be free. The subsequent ones will not be free. So please give us a real name, fake name. We don't care. Head over to algofactory.tech. We will teach you how to trade like a hedge fund pro. And like I said, right now, we're going to head over to the private live lab where people are able to get a little bit deeper, ask questions. I can say things that, not that I have privileged insider information, but we can say things that are a little bit deeper, that we might not ruffle as many feathers, right? It's a private group. So come on in. Hope to see you there. See you tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. EST, right here, YouTube, X, and Rumble. Thanks for watching.
Join us or die.
Just kidding. You're not.